Hello, I'm Dr. Katherine Horton. I've put out an appeal, or several appeals before Christmas, for assistance with incredible criminality that I'm fighting against, that I'm being exposed to, and that I and my family are suffering from. And I received a couple of very interesting responses, and I would like to reply to those in turn. One of the responses I received, I was very pleased because I received it over Twitter after putting out an appeal, and I complained about the fact that most of the victims of these crimes, which are being committed by the intelligence agencies, are women. And I have a lot of women fighting desperately to have this shut down, to have the crimes against them stopped. And every single time these women and we're approaching organizations, we always meet men. So it's the men who are on par. And I was so frustrated because I have been just turned down, and I haven't received any help from the agencies that are actually in charge of stopping this criminality, being the police, the courts, the attorney generals. And now the question is what to do about them. And in one of my appeals, I actually said, it would be really nice if finally the men would get going and actually help us. And in response to that, I received a message over Twitter where an account that said it's from an ex-military, ex-police person said, right, I'm here, so what do you want me to do now? Then I said, okay, I'll put out a video explaining what I would like you to do. And I didn't actually get around to doing that over Christmas. So here it is now. So, dear military and dear police officers, and I'm addressing you specifically now, the situation is the following. As far as I can tell, I am not the only victim of the intelligence agencies. I'm not the only victim who's being attacked with microwave weapons and who has all these fancy brain interference, brain demolition weapons tested on me. I have got evidence that there are thousands of people across Europe, thousands of people in every country, in every European country. And it's a global problem. And in some countries it seems to be worse than others, but it is safe to say that we have now a situation whereby our intelligence agencies and also presumably their contractors are actively attacking citizens with electromagnetic weapons. These citizens have tried to approach the police and have been labeled as mad, for example, which you can see why it happens, because if you see this video and you see this background, you might think, oh, that's a crazy lady. But if you're from the military, then microwave weapons will mean something to you. Every single military person I talk to, the mentioning of microwave weapons, was not a surprise. You know that they exist. You know that they are now the most, the hottest potato on the block, really, because of how powerful they are, because they don't leave traces. And you also know that the only way to block electromagnetic radiation is with lead, or cheaper and lighter with metal. So what I have here is several layers of aluminium that actually does help with some of the microwaving that I would otherwise receive to the back of my head, because the wall of my study is an external wall and the neighbor has an emitter placed there which will shoot at me wherever I can be shot at in my home. So this is the situation. I am personally located in Switzerland. My parents and my family is in Germany, and I actually started being targeted in the UK. I have been now assaulted with microwave weapons in Switzerland, in Germany, in the UK, but also in the Netherlands, in Spain, and in Italy. So you can just see how vast this problem is. Now, this is now just the situation of what is happening. I'm an innocent person. I'm not a terrorist. I am an ex-research fellow from St. John's College, Oxford. I started being targeted when I was a research fellow. And I am being targeted for no good reason, really. I've been put on a surveillance list and then on an experimentation list very quickly after that. Essentially, I'm being used against all the laws in the land, in any land, as essentially a human test subject. And the experiments done on me are the continuation of the experiments done at Auschwitz. This is a fact. So now, if you are in the military and you're the police, the question is, if you would be willing, how could you help women like me, and also men, but 70% are women. And I'm not actually making a distinction between the victims if they are male or female, but I'm just trying to underline this, because anybody who's in the police service or anybody who's in the military, when I say 70% of the victims are known to be women, it doesn't sound like someone fighting national security to you, does it? And most certainly it doesn't sound like someone fighting crime now, does it? Because in any of those two, you would expect the targets or the victims to be mostly male. So I'm emphasizing this not because I do not care about the male victims. I'm emphasizing this to you, dear police and dear military personnel, because as soon as I say that, it should ring a bell. If you're working for the police, then you know that the majority, something like 70, 80 to 90% of the victims of sexual assault are women. So when I describe these crimes to you and you hear the sex ratio already tells you about the type of crime that it is. It is sexual assault. If you're in the military, then women being most of the casualties should also ring a bell with you, because it is essentially the hallmark of a war crime. If it's an actual legal war, and the soldiers behaving like they should, according to the Geneva Conventions, most of the casualties should be men, because men are soldiers. However, when you end up in a situation whereby most of the casualties are women, you know that this is a dirty war. This is not a legal war. It means that civilians have been murdered, essentially. So I'm emphasizing this because I want you, dear police and dear military, to realize that what you're being asked to assist in is essentially the stopping of war crimes and the stopping of sexual assaults into first order. There's also weapons testing going on. There's also human experimentation going on. That's true. And fancy weapons and fancy human tests are being done. That's true. But into first order, what we're dealing with, the motivation is inscribed in the victims and the statistics of the victims. What we're dealing with is a system utterly out of control, whereby the operatives of the intelligence agencies are essentially living out their own sexual predilections, their own sadism, their own perversions, and their own psychopathology. And that is what explains the sex ratio. What explains the actual details of what the victims complain about, that has to do with the type of tests the intelligence agencies have been asked to do, with the type of weapons that they're testing, the types of large-scale control infrastructure that they're testing. That's true. And if you're in the military, you will recognize a lot of that. But this is essentially the baseline. So if you're actually a proper police officer, if you're a proper soldier, and you actually stand up for your own country, your own people, then I ask for your help, because what I'm telling you is that in the UK, for example, UK citizens are being assaulted. Innocent UK citizens are being assaulted with military technology. Now that's a war crime. The same is happening in Germany and Switzerland. I have only briefly been in Spain and Italy and the Netherlands, but I have also reason to believe that it goes on there as well, because victims are known. So if you're a soldier, wherever you are required, because your country is being attacked. It is under actual military assault. Now, if you're in the police, I do need your assistance, because you have special skills in forensics. You have access to databases. You can do investigations that normal citizens, as you know, cannot do. So, okay, so this is now for your situational awareness, what we're dealing with. The actual criminality seems to be emanating from the intelligence agencies, who in turn have been bought by corporations and other, most likely private structures, and hidden agendas, but it doesn't matter, because the next level up in terms of government organization who has ultimate responsibility for this is the intelligence agencies in all European countries. There are handles on them, there's oversight, they do have to obey the laws of the land, and it's not true that the intelligence agencies can literally just assault, maim and murder large parts of the civilian population. That is not what they are for. They are there to fight terrorism, and this is a form of terrorism, and they're not doing their job. Okay, so this is now the situation. Now, how can you help? Well, I tell you how you can help. If you are in the military, let's start with you guys. I want you to network. I want you to literally pick up the phone or meet people face to face. Literally start accessing your network. And I want you to find out who is doing this, how they are doing this, what infrastructure they are using, and how you, in the military, what steps you can take in your systems, in your processes, in your chain of command to have this stopped. Okay? Because I'm addressing you with this because you know the kit. Okay? You know what microwave weapons are capable of. You know that they can shoot through the walls of a home. You understand why I have metal behind me here, right? Because if you had to bunker down and shield yourself from electromagnetic assaults, you would probably use, sheets of metal. Now, I can't actually lift them, so I have to use as many layers of aluminium as I can to have some sort of like cheap, flimsy protection, but it's better than nothing. So, you have heard about the active denial system, which is this ginormous, microwave dish, essentially. That is a big piece of equipment. What civilians are being attacked with is handheld devices. But you probably have access to people who procure for the military. You have access to people who know about this kit. What I need from you, and you need to spread this information far and wide, you need to send it to me, but you also need to send it to other victims who then can in turn send it to me. Do you see? So if you're scared sending stuff to me, send it to another victim and ask them to pass it on to me. So it has to be a game of volleyball. But you're in the military, you know what to do to defend yourself against this, you know what the kit looks like, you might have used it, you know what its capabilities are. I want you to go out and help me stop this military assault against your own people, okay? Now, please access the contacts you have in the military. Tell them that this is happening, because most likely they do not know. A year ago, I did not know that this is going on. I had no idea. But I want you to use your network. I want you to tell absolutely everybody. You can show them my videos. You can tell them who I am. You can also tell them that I've been to the High Court. My High Court documents are on my website called stop007.org. You can look under court cases and evidence. And when you read through this, it should ring a bell with you, right? You should think, oh, hang on, I have heard about that. If you're in the military, you can also access the suppliers and have a look at what sort of kit they are selling. And I want you to protect your country by finding out how it's done, these attacks on victims, what equipment is used, who the contractors or the private companies are that are selling this stuff. Find out also about the infrastructure, the sort of brain interference infrastructure. Try to find out if the soldiers in your country have been chipped. Maybe also go to a session where they scan for chips, for implants, for microwave RFID chips. Find out if you're chipped, find out if your colleagues and friends are chipped, find out if there's a policy of chipping you as a soldier, and find out how on earth to have this sort of military tech shut down. Okay? Because this is military tech, this is your department, this is your responsibility to figure out why your country is being attacked by this, why women like me are being attacked. because I'm not a threat to your country at all. I'm just a civilian. It's against the Geneva Conventions to attack civilians, even in situations of war, where, as you know, things might get a bit hectic. But in situations of peace, in a normal Western country, attacking people with military technology is certainly against the Geneva Conventions, against the laws, against absolutely everything. However, this is precisely what's happening. So please, to the military, you go and you check what tech is being used. Please find out. I have got the feeling I'm being attacked with handheld emitters, and also emitters that are placed in handbags. Please, can you tap into your network and find out who's making these, what these things look like, what are the smallest microwave emitters that can cause pain, or electromagnetic emitters that can cause pain. Do you know anything about large-scale infrastructure, maybe involving satellites or other military tech, mobile phone antennas, anything like that that can be used to assault people, that can be used as literally as a military assault system? If you do, please pass the information to victims. If you can, please pass it to me. If you can, please do post it online, pass it to the press, and also if you get blocked, another thing that you can also find out if you're in the military, or maybe if you're working for the Ministry of Defense, is the thing with the D-notices. Who is administering the D-notices? This applies to the UK now. D-notices are essentially sent out by, I think, also the intelligence agency, so military intelligence, and I think the MOD can serve D-notices on the press forbidding them to report about microwave assaults. However, when your own country and the citizens in your country are being attacked and it's not being reported, this is essentially subverting the communication systems of a democracy, which, as you know, in a situation of war, subverting someone's communication systems is a serious matter. So that's to the military. Please get going on this. Help me. Please access the resources that only you can access, and get more people in the military on board. Know that this is happening. It's happening in the UK to a lot of women, also a lot of black women, because they are isolated, and this is not what we stand for. Essentially the army and the military is not to be used against single moms, basically. White, Asian, black, it doesn't matter. It's not to be used against women or single moms, and it's not to be used in peace times. So please find out, if you can, who is doing this. That's your job now. Everything to do with military tech, it's your job. So, dear police, what is also happening is that we do know statistically that thousands of people have been affected by this, and there have been a lot of reports to the police about microwave assaults. Now, every single police anywhere in the Western world has been blocking these reports. I myself, you can see what happened to me. I had my report to Greater Manchester Police blocked, and there was intimidation theatre staged. I was not allowed to speak to an officer. I was sent home. I was not... I basically just spoke to the receptionist. I waited then for 20 minutes after describing my case. I was sent home, off into the night, back into my car, back on the motorway, back just out into the night at 9:30 p.m. in pitch black darkness, sent back to my hotel under the pretext that an officer is going to come to my room, my hotel room. Then after an hour or an hour and a half, I called the same police station, Ashton-under-Lyne. There I asked if I should wait up because it was getting late and I had to attend a court hearing that I was visiting as an observer in Manchester. And I was told specifically that I can go to bed and a police officer is going to come the next morning. Now, what happened then is that was a lie. This was told to me after the police computer was checked. And an hour after that, just before midnight, an ambulance turned up at my hotel room. This didn't have reception staff, and of course I don't open the door, right? But nevertheless, they called the police. They forced entry, and they said this ambulance was called because of my mental health. Well, this story doesn't make any sense, because if I'm in a police station and I'm reporting a crime, and if you as a police officer felt that my mental health is so unstable that I need an ambulance, most likely you wouldn't send me back into my car and back on the motorway to just get lost somewhere, leave me alone for several hours, right, to then call an ambulance. You might just, try to keep me somewhere there, or, make sure that I'm all right. However, as it was, I only spoke to the receptionist for a few minutes, and then I was sent away without even a police officer making an assessment. So I do not think that a receptionist can make a mental health assessment. And besides, I do have the entire conversation recorded. So, this stuff doesn't fly. Since then, I requested my crime report from Greater Manchester Police, and they have ignored my letter. So far, they have not sent me my crime report. So, you can also see the YouTube video about how by the way, the police who came at the scene, I think they acted correctly. Certainly the police officers who were there at the scene in full police gear. There was one guy, a young chap, who was a bit odd, I'm not sure. He had a shirt saying police, but he also wore, purple gloves, like the ambulance staff, and he didn't have the actual chest gear as the other police officers had. So you tell me who the hell that was. It was very interesting because he was very relaxed, kind of, very focused on me, and he tried to, as I was, in my hotel room, I had aluminium sheeting, and he kept saying, so what's the tinfoil about? And you can see it in the video, tinfoil, where there hasn't been any tin in this sort of stuff since the 1970s, so this is not tinfoil, this is aluminium. So a young chap saying tinfoil, already seeding, tinfoil hat. So that in itself made me think he might just be someone placed there by MI5, But you tell me, please have a look. If you're in the police, have a look at that video. I will post a link below about the actual police officers coming to my hotel room, and you tell me, are these real police officers? Do you recognize them? Can you find out who they are? Would a young chap not have a vest when he's accompanying police if he's police? Please tell me. That's one thing you can do. Analyze anything to do with the police in this case. The other thing that you can do is please check your records. Have there been any reports about microwave attacks to your police station or to your police colleagues? Please talk to your colleagues and say, if you haven't heard about microwave attacks, ask your colleagues, have they heard about that? And say, have you investigated them? If there's a policy that you just brand everybody as mentally ill who approaches you with microwave weapons and reports about microwave weapons, well, you can tell from that alone that this is something untoward happening, because we do know that these microwave weapons are being produced in large numbers. We also know that they can cause heart attacks, they can cause cancer, they can cause organ failure, brain damage, anything through a wall without leaving a trace. And they're sold cheap for less than a laptop. Now, an assault weapon like that, with which you can commit the perfect murder, the perfect crime without leaving a trace, for less than a laptop, you would probably assume that there are a lot of victims already, right? Now, my question to you, dear police, is where are they? Where are the victims that you would statistically expect to see, given that these weapons exist? Please, if you can check your police database, do so and see if you have any reports. Find out what the policy is, and if it's still branding people as mentally ill, have that policy reviewed. You complain about this. You complain about this, and I tell you why you should complain about it, because these weapons, sooner or later, dear police, are going to be used by criminals against you. Do you understand? So it's not just for my benefit, it's for your benefit as well. Do you see? Because how many crooks can you think of who over the internet would order an assault weapon like that and have you come down with cancer? Or just, have a laugh and damage you without you noticing? Or shoot at you and you have a heart attack? Do you know of any colleagues who had odd illnesses, who had, heart attacks or anything in a time when they were actually going up against serious organized crime? But petty criminals can do the same thing. So what I'm asking you, dear police, is do this. Find out were there any microwave attacks happening. Have they been reported? If they have been, are they in your police database? If they are, what has been done to help the victims? It should also be visible in your police records. The other thing is, do you know of any other complaints with regards to misuse of police helicopters, misuse of police time, for harassment, for gang stalking? You can find out where the informant networks are, who are members of the informant networks, and how these people operate. Please, your task is to find out who is misusing police informants and police operatives, plainclothes police operatives in the community, to harass individuals for criminal purposes. This requires your investigatory powers, your databases, your network, and your way of working. So this is your job, dear police. You have to find who the gang stalkers are, who is paying them. Are they being paid by your police institutions? Are they being paid by contractors? Is someone else doing this? And what are your superiors doing? Have they been investigating microwave attacks? If not, why? Have you been stopped from investigating microwave attacks? Have you been told about microwave weapons by your superiors? If not, why? All of these things. So I want you, both the military, all people who are ex-military, get in touch with your contacts who still are in the military. Get in touch with the people who were in the military, and you do whatever you can only do from within the military. And the police, you do whatever you can only do from within the police. You know what databases you can access. You can find out who people are. You can find out what people do. Stop harassing innocent victims. Try finding out, what do your superiors do? The same for the military. You are all kept in a very strict hierarchy. If anyone captures a person above you, what would it look like to you? It would look like that your superiors don't make any sense anymore. They take you off cases when you really should stay on cases, right? So I'm telling you, from what I can see, all our institutions are in deep capture. The police, the intelligence agencies, and the courts, and also military. And we all have to work within our systems to get back, to claw back our systems and make them healthy again. So, dear police, I want you, if you can help me, if you want to help me, get in touch, pick up the phone and call your colleagues and ask about this. Inform them, please. Inform them what's happening to me, inform them what's happening to other victims, and you access the databases, you find out who is doing this. And if necessary, do it in your private time. It is your civic duty, because what is being committed is crimes against civilians. All right? So, and when it's crimes, it's your job, dear police. And you, if you're in the police, you should also have been taught about deep capture. If you haven't, watch my video about, my systems analysis video about capture. It happens in all systems, it happens in the police, it happens absolutely everywhere. But I want you to go out and actually start an investigation. If your superiors don't allow you to investigate, do it in your own time. You know your friends, you know your colleagues, ask them, get through to the right people. You know who to trust, you know who the clever people are, and start an investigation by yourself. Then please make it public. Please do leak it to the press. If the press doesn't want to report, find out, is it D notices? Can they break the D notices? This is serious crime. Are they allowed to report about crime? But please do this, because this is about crime and that's your department. Okay? So everybody, you, dear police, you, dear military, go out and use your network, please, to do whatever only you can do to have this investigated, to have this stopped. Leak it to victims, leak it to the press, whatever you know about this crime, so that we can all work together. But please, please help us. If you can, I would be very, very grateful. Thank you very much for listening.